Chadwick did just such a great job of representation on so many different levels across the spectrum, across genres, across roles. But it wasn't his role in Black Panther was really important because I really feel like I don't know if there could ever be or there would ever have been anyone else who could have fit that role as perfectly as he did in every sense of every form.
All right, guys, thank you for joining Generational Talks. So I just wanted to get a group together to have a discussion on the passing of Chadwick Boseman, actor known for playing Black Panther, but he's done a lot of other roles. One of my favorite roles, Marshall. And it's 2020, so we've had a lot of tragedies, and like over the last couple of years, a lot of people have died. So like, what makes this an issue for Generational Talk to me? Let's just say when I had to tell my kids, that Chadwick passed away, it not only felt like telling them that we lost a cousin. I don't know how to explain it, but it just, not only did it feel like that, but this was kind of like a big hero to them. And they did take it hard. And I'm babbling, but it's almost like imagining Christopher Reeves passing away immediately after the 1978 film, and then also add on the cultural and social relevancy of the role, how important that was for that generation. Then this is how I see Chadwick's role for the younger kids now. And just also, I was a fan of him before Black Panther with Marshall. That's the movie I watched on Sunday. I was hoping to even get more Marshall movies based off of how that ended. But I mean, enough babbling for me. If you just want to go around the room and get a quick reaction, we can start with Tommy.
Yeah, I kind of, I'm kind of at a loss for words, to be honest. It's it's so young. Obviously, I think is one of the just mind-blowing aspects of this. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I loved him from Black Panther. I loved Marshall, and yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah, when you asked me to be on this discussion, I tried to think of a comparison. Your Christopher Reeve one is a great one there, but I'm hard pressed to think of somebody like climbing, you know what I mean? Like having so many great roles, both, not just, the fictional stuff like Black Panther, but, the historical stuff like Marshall and James Brown, and
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson, yeah, that too, yeah. And that here's this kind of, life cut short, which is sad in its own, but it's like he had so many more great roles to do and performances to give.
So many heroes.
Yeah. So many just icons, to both, again, fictional and real, and so yeah, it's a great loss, to just the storytelling medium, like who knows? I mean, he could have been all kinds of great roles left in him, and yeah, it's just really sad. Yeah.
Reminds me of like James Dean or something like that.
A little bit, yeah, but James Dean, he was so young, you know what I mean? Yeah. And here's Chadwick, who's kind of, he'd been on like the old Law and Order, you know what I mean? He'd been around for a while, like he was on like one-off episode of old Law and Order, but like he just been plugging along and getting these bigger and bigger roles. And I mean, Black Panther was huge, it's a huge movie, huge role. And then, like I said, I'm hard, like not even just an actor who's already passed, but just imagining an actor who hasn't passed. I can't figure out like on a scale, like there's nobody who's like on that kind of trajectory like he was on. And then, so it's just a terrible loss all around.
So yeah, we literally just jumped into the episode. This is informal. We just jumped into the episode. People are familiar with Tommy and Adam from the comic book episode or cartoon episode. We usually do at the top, hey, I'm such and such, and I'm from this generation. Dave, you've been with us a couple times. RJ, this is your first time joining the panel. You're scheduled to be with us on a previous one, but couldn't make that. So it's unfortunate that this is your first one, but still glad to have you, RJ. If you just briefly tell us about your show, and then you could get into your reaction.
Man, well, first of all, I'm just humbled just to be on the show. I appreciate the invite and all y'all and everything. My name is RJ Snow, Wakanda Forever. You know what I'm saying? I got a channel on YouTube. It's my name. I'm RJ Snow. I do comics, comic book based material, comic book movies, games. I mean, anything weird, I like it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, anything that catch my eye, catch somebody else's eye, that they say, yo, you might need to check this out. I'm gonna check it out. Mm-hmm. With Chadwick Boseman, I think it hit this generation, like our generation on down hard, because he was cool personified with 42, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, and I watched The Five Bloods on Netflix last night. Go check it out. it's a good movie. But with Black Panther, the way he came into the MCU, like the only person who came on the scene better than the Black Panther, I say Thor, you know, when he came into Wakanda. But he was just a king from on scene to off the scene. I think that's why it hit, because he was just genuinely a good person. And we were like you said, we see him go up and up, like Casey said, like you see him rise to the top to the MCU, and he was only going to go further. So with him being cut short of that, it kind of hurt everybody, because as much as that myself is a comic book fan, I know all y'all are like comic book fans or movie fans, we won't see the MCU as we want to now, like with him in it. So it kind of, you know what I'm saying, hurts a little bit.
Dave?
Yeah. This is, Chadwick was, I think, for me, it hit a little bit differently because it's 2020. And, like, we know bad things are going to happen. We know bad things have happened. But you just don't expect to see, like, that person. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the importance of representation, which, of course, everyone has kind of heard that before. But Chadwick did just such a great job of representation on so many different levels, across the spectrum, across genres, across roles. But it wasn't his role in Black Panther was really important, because I really feel like I don't know if there could ever be, or there would ever have been, anyone else who could have fit that role as perfectly as he did in every sense of every form. And for us who grew up with comic books and grew up idolizing and grew up, you know, thinking about those movies in our minds, to see something that perfect come to fruition is amazing. And when we talk about representation, we kind of go off the beaten path a little bit, and it's about an ownership or an acceptance of an idea. And so consistently what you have, and just go ahead and just throw it out there, Chadwick Boseman was a Black man. There, I said it. He was a Black man. He was a phenomenal actor. He was a phenomenally private man. He was an educated and articulate man. But he spoke to so many different levels of pride for us seeing someone that looked like us and looked like our relatives and shared our background to go out. And when I say share my background also as well, I'm not talking about Daniel Kaluuya or just someone else. We're talking about somebody from South Carolina, the South. is out there doing that. And when you see that and you listen to his story, you watch his transition that he made throughout his career, that consistent climb for excellence, it's uplifting. And then you see him take this role where he becomes this character that we always envisioned it would be, and it means everything. It means everything to us because Wakanda, how many stories have we seen about the lost city of Atlantis or the lost Mayan civilizations or all these other different things, or Buck Rogers out there? That's what Wakanda was. And it meant so much because we were literally talking about people's dreams that they had, and their childhood aspirations, their dreams, their things that they imagined growing up that people never thought they'd see. And I'll never forget this. There's a coworker that I had when I first started working right out of college, and it was around the time that the Lord of the Rings trilogy was coming out, and the gentleman passed away. Before he passed away, he had, I think, within the framework of a couple of months, two or three major heart attacks, and he had grown up reading Tolkien. And I remember having a quick conversation with him before he passed about how, as odd as it sounds, he remembered trying to hold on because he knew the movies were being made, and he didn't want to leave without seeing the movies. And for some people that might seem trite, but for other people, when you really become a fan and you become invested in these worlds that have been created and that serve to speak to our souls on such a deep level, that connection is so real. And I look at what he was waiting for, and I look at what all of us were waiting for when we first heard that it was being made. And much respect to Ryan Coogler, didn't know if he was going to be able to pull it off. Thought he could be able to pull off, but he did. But to see something like that is so amazing on so many different levels. But I juxtapose that right now by saying, you look at a lot of the different things that we're being fed right now in the media, on TV, these depictions that are being made. There's a lot of imagery that's out there, and a lot of the imagery is not positive. And now you have someone who exemplifies the positive type of representation. Someone talented, someone articulate, someone thoughtful, someone selfless, someone caring. And it makes it even harder now, right? Because I'm about to cry over this dude, right? Like right now, I'm about to cry over this dude. But the fact of the matter was that he was going through a life and death struggle over the course of the last several years, fighting through that. Didn't mention it once, intentionally kept it aside. He is Black Panther. That is the quiet sense of confidence and strength that T'Challa expressed throughout his run in the comic books. That's the regality of a king. The fact that he walked that and produced some great works while he was going through that, while he was living his life, while he was still giving to other people, while he was still out on tour. I just saw a video the other day where he was responding to, and I'm probably going to get the name wrong, I don't know if it was Oliver Stone or Martin Scorsese who had made a comment about superhero movies and blockbuster movies. But in the movie, or excuse me, in the interview, you could see, because we're not paying attention, we know what's going on, you could see how much thinner Chadwick was then. And I don't know if we weren't paying attention because we just didn't know. And to just kind of see that strength carried through, he's a real life superhero. And I mean, I say that unabashedly, Ryan, I got your kids a Black Panther, Black Panther gifts and stuff, the other Christmas or so. So it's very much so important because he represented that role and took on that mantle just as a man so seriously. And it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
You mentioned my kids. I'm in their room right now. This is their poster. So Vanelle, you guys may remember Vanelle. She has been on the panel. She was on the Juneteenth episode. She couldn't make this one. She was originally supposed to be on it, but she wanted me to make her point clear, she sent me a text. And it kind of adds to your point about how he pretty much heroically and quietly carried this disease without the public awareness. And she wanted to make it clear about the impact, the role of social media and toxic culture, about how like there were moments where fans or haters, whatever you want to call it, did call attention to how he was losing weight and just wondering like, what's going on here? And the fact that he didn't all of a sudden wear his sickness on his sleeve to shut them up, that says a lot. But also just, it kind of makes me just think about how our culture is. Like you never know what someone is going through. This could lead into the future episode that we still haven't done about toxic fandom, Adam. It's just, you just never know what a person's going through on social media, on and offline. So, yeah.
It's I have a friend. This is like multiple person hearsay, but I have a friend who went to Howard, and he says that he knew people who went to Howard with Chadwick, and that they were all like surprised that Chadwick blew up because he was a very like private to himself person, at Howard. And I was wondering if, maybe that played a role into it too, that he just wasn't someone who like, was always trying to steal the limelight but speaking of Howard and Chadwick, had anybody gotten a chance to see his commencement speech that's been circulating around?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up the statue too. They're trying to have a statue for him in South Carolina.
Why not?
I haven't read that article. Does anybody know about it?
I haven't, no.
Okay. He's from South Carolina.
Yeah.
I'll find an article and I'll just link it. I don't really want to speak to it, but
yeah.
I would just like to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in there. I think it would be quite apropos to have a statue of T'Challa next to the Panther at the Carolina Stadium. I'm just saying. Have it out there. It's there.
You know what's funny?
it reminds me of the Rocky statue in Philly.
Exactly.
That's the character who was also a hero to the community.
But as soon as I see it, like the Panther downtown the state, I'm like, that's not Carolina Panther no more. That's part of Wakanda now, for real.
I guess you're right. Oh man, but yeah, to your point, Joe, I think Tommy, I think that I think it definitely played a part, but I think that's part of the charm, man. I mean, like it's somebody who doesn't have to have, and I think about like how refreshing that is in this time where there weren't Instagram posts, there weren't 80, 100 million trillion thoughts and prayers. It was a man choosing, and I you have to think, right, like his choice of projects the last couple of years. I mean, he just not only did he just bring us all to the screen, but he knocked everything out of the park. And to just kind of have that that vision that says, and I know we always kind of tell ourselves, what would you do if you only had 1 week to live or a couple of years to live? Like, like he had that, and he achieved that, and he did that. And it's it's again, it's a loose comparison, but I think about what Adam was bringing up earlier. I think about Heath Ledger. I think about him passing, and I think about us looking at that saying, man, like we just saw a snippet of what this dude was capable of, and it was amazing. Couldn't wait for more. And
that's a good analogy. I'm surprised I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
I say with Chadwick, I think we knew what we were going to get when he was in the movie, which was excellence. So we knew that was going to happen, but to just see missing out on there being a full generation of being able to sit there and watch those roles play out, in the strength of where that storytelling was going to go, and how much bigger it could have potentially gotten, could have become, I think is just it's a sad thing, but I think moreover, again, Tommy, to your point, that commencement speech was someone who understood every day that there was, and I'm paraphrasing and intimating, but understood that every day there was going to be a point where you could stand up and you could fight. And he lived his life, from all accounts of what we've seen right now, he lived his life that way, prepared to fight, willing to fight, and had both the strength and the talent and the endurance to fight. And I think that is the amazing thing that we can catch in a star that shone so bright as we watch it in the sky, you know, and try to do our very best not to let that light fade, especially in these times right now, to keep up that fight and to keep that fight going in different areas, in different ways. And, you know, again, I think, you know, he's not, and maybe this is because he was sick, but he's not someone that we saw with everything going on in 2020 posted on doing this march, or I'm going to do over there, I'm going to do that. But he did what he needed to do. He did what he needed to do like a good Southern man. When he needed to do it, he took care of his business. He took care of his family. And I think there are a lot of lessons that we can glean from him. So,
any other comments?
Well, Ryan, I want to know about like you and your kids, like, because I feel like, I mean, you know, Black Panther was huge, not just for obviously, you know, Black children, but you see white kids too. People love the movie. It was a great movie. It's obviously, I think personally, the best Marvel movie. I think it kind of transcends the Marvel formula, you know, of all just kind of, you know, it's all lighthearted fun and jokes. Here's a real serious movie that deals with death and deals with, you know, your heritage and ancestors and that kind of stuff like that, which isn't really part of American culture. You know, we don't really deal with death well, you know. So like with talking with your kids about this kind of thing.
Well, it was also like a good excuse to put in a little bit of Afrofuturism in an entertainment format. And I mean, I can't, like, we just don't have Afrofuturism on television. We don't have that type of imagery. That's another reason why the movies it wasn't just a superhero film.
Right.
It did bring in the forefront an image that you just don't see. And so not only did we lose a talented actor, but it honestly feels like, I mean, I know it's not going to be maybe in a couple years, who knows? But right now in this moment, it feels like the death of that image, a cinematic image that our kids could have grew up with. I don't, like, what else is going to replace that? That's what was so exciting about it. Like,
yeah,
there's a space app thing. You guys see me post it. I forgot the name of that. You know, I'm here, you know, putting my face on Captain America and Aquaman and all these other actors. And they didn't have a Black Panther, but I mean, like, I don't know why they didn't have a Black Panther, but I'm just saying, here we had a character that finally, you know, a Black kid could go dress up as for Halloween. And I guess they didn't really, like, my kids didn't have they'll dress up like Spider-Man. That wasn't really never an issue, but still, something about saying that, hey, that guy does look like me.
The option,
that's pretty big.
The option, I'm sorry to cut anybody off, but I think that option that's there, the fact that there is an option that looks like me, the fact that there is a shade that looks like me, that doesn't mean that I love Chris Evans any less. It doesn't mean, you know, that I'm going to stand Bucky Barnes, because I never will. But, you know, it's about having that option there and being there at the table. I think you made a really good point about Afrofuturism, because, you know, of course, historically, when you think of Africa, you get the standardized American view of what you think Africa is. And I don't know Africa. I've never been there. But I know that what we saw on screen was not the typical African persona that was, you know, consistently shoved down our throats. And to that, I also draw the comparison to Black is King, which I'm kind of struggling to get through. But one of the beautiful things that Beyonce kind of did there was she took what you thought was Africa, but showed you different sides and different perspectives and different angles of it. And I thought, again, it's beautiful. It's a huge continent of beauty. And just like we celebrate the diversity of America, Africa's there too. So it broadens our worldview a little bit. And, I think again, in terms of the movie itself, I think it is going to be, it is going to suffer because of the loss of Chadwick. But I think what you have though is you've broken the dam, so to speak, on what the potential is. And I think the fact that we've seen what the potential is, I think the one thing that is most apparent is as soon as we get our stuff together as a world, the most important color about Black Panther was not black, it was green, because it made money, hand over fist. And that is going to be able to give it the legs to let this grief, and I hate to use this way, but the grief that's going to wash over Ryan Coogler, and it was going to wash over his staff, and what's going to wash over the co-star. There's going to be a move from this passing where I feel like everyone's going to be charged to do justice to whatever this next story is going to be. And I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about that. I mean, from a creative standpoint, whether that's talking about, and I hate to say this, but us reliving the passing of him in order so that the mantle is passed to Shuri. What does that do for women? What does that do for young girls? Or y'all bring Killmonger back. Good Killmonger.
So I have a theory about that.
Okay.
We see at the end, and I know it, I'm just assuming everybody's seen the Black Panther. We see Killmonger go down. We don't see him get buried. We don't see him, you know what I'm saying? Now, we're in Wakanda, the most intellectual country in the world.
Okay.
Just putting it out there.
Personally, I'm hoping they go with Shuri, but we'll see what happens.
Now, I would love to see Shuri take up the mantle. Now, at the same time, what does that do for the protagonist side as well? You know what I'm saying? Who would be the villain going against Shuri?
I heard some stuff about Namor, which was
That
weird.
was the original plan, I think.
Yeah. I can see that. I've been watching John Wick movies for the first time.
I also heard Storm was going to be in it, and they were going to work her in.
Nope. Not now. Not now. Can't do it now. Don't do that.
Man, so either you're going to bring Shuri as the Black Panther, or I hope not, they're going to try to find somebody else to replace.
No, don't do it. Nope. Cancel. Nope.
I can't see anybody replacing him. I mean, even if he didn't pass away, it's that dilemma of you just can't see an actor replacing such an
the masses are the mass as a whole, the consumer as a whole is not going to take that.
I 1,000% agree with you, because the bottom line is Black Twitter won't let it happen.
Nope.
It's not.
We have the Sonic.
I just don't want Disney. I just don't want Disney to. I just hope that they're sensitive, and I trust that, because I do think that I think they did a good job handling Black Panther.
Yeah.
In a way that made it special and not just part of a movie on a Marvel assembly line. So therefore, I trust. I'm not going to speak negatively. I trust that Disney will be able to get over themselves and present a movie that continues to honor.
I may be wrong, but I feel that we're there. I think that's something that I've noticed, but I've not really given a voice to.
Okay.
I've been surprised that Disney has been as loose as they are. Again, the Black Panther, them taking on the MCU. I never in a million years thought Black. I mean, of course, it's Beyonce and it's Jay-Z or whatever, but I didn't. Black is King. I mean, that was because it wasn't just that. It was them also taking the intellectual property that belongs to Disney and then giving their imagining retelling on it, which I think is a huge statement for what they're willing to do. So they're all in on this Disney Plus thing, but I have seen a couple instances where it looks like they're loosening their belt a little bit and they're allowing some of that creative freedom, and it gets you excited for what the possibilities might be going forward.
That's a good point. I mean, this isn't that they also had Hamilton on there. Hamilton, that's not a Disney property, is it? They acquired it, correct? Yeah. I mean, like Disney didn't produce the theatrical. Okay. All right. Well.
Yet.
No, I was sorry. I was just thinking too. Speaking of your kids, when you were talking about your kids and how they were dealing with it, I was thinking of like the equivalent. I guess would be like if Tobey Maguire had died after the first Spider-Man. And Spider-Man 2 was like one of my favorite. I'm like not the equivalent in terms of like they're on the same level, but just the equivalent in terms of my life. Like, you know, if Tobey Maguire had died after the first one, when I loved the first one, the second one is like one of my all-time favorite movies. And yeah.
Well, shoot, you guys reminded me of Heath Ledger now, so y'all it's like a double punch here.
The first actor who I thought of after I heard this was Anton Yelchin. Actually, I don't know why that came to mind, but that was like one of the most, the worst ones for me. I normally, you know, I'm like I feel bad insofar as whenever a celebrity dies, just because you know it's a person that died, but like just the way Anton died specifically and how young he was, you know, and now the same thing with, you know, Boseman. It's just,
right.
Yeah.
All right. Go on, RJ.
So I heard he did his lines for the animated version of Marvel of the MCU, or What If. So that would be like the last time we do hear Chadwick Boseman's voice.
That's good.
So yeah.
And the director Ryan Coogler's did you guys read his message, right? His post about how he was writing. Now this actually I guess answers the question. He was writing the next movie, and in his post he talked about how, you know, he wrote lines that he unfortunately won't be able to hear Chadwick say. And that was kind of moving. All right, well, I don't have anything else to say. So anybody else? Everybody good?
Well, I guess that just raises the question: did not even Disney and like no one dealing with Black Panther knew about this either?
That's a very good question. I mean, I guess I would think business-wise that probably if they did know, surely that would have played into the casting of them, right? I don't know. I don't even want to go there.
I find it hard to believe though, because they had those pictures of him. Yes, I frequent certain gossip sites that will go unnamed.
Yeah.
But there were pictures of him. And I think for those people who were around him, on a consistent basis, I would say it couldn't have been a surprise. And even those people who weren't around him on a consistent basis would have seen the change. So, you know, I mean, there's so much we don't know. Obviously, we're fans. We're not family. We don't know how private he was off of and how often he saw people. We know that he was filming movies. But I think if we've seen other people, I think, Ryan, the last time that I went up to visit you guys, I saw a person that I had known who was going through a similar battle, and the dramatic change in body is extremely shocking to see how quickly the body can be ravaged by that. So, don't know. I find it hard to believe, though, that there wouldn't have been a plan in place. And I would like to think that, regardless of kind of what we're being told, I would like to think that all those people that were involved in that film knew how big that film was and how important it was, and knew how important that second round would be. And so whatever, I'm sure it'll come out in the future that they've taken some precautionary steps, or, you know, maybe communicated something or what have you. But I think the last thing on that one, I think my thought was in Ryan Coogler's note, he mentioned how tough it was looking at Chadwick, realizing that Chadwick is now an ancestor, and that I think that resonated extremely deep with me, because in terms of what you would consider your ancestors, the thought is always your ancestors who is there to guide you, who's there to protect you, who you turn to in times of need, that guiding sort of force that at the end of the day you recognize that your name is not just your name. You're carrying the name of those who came before you. And I think that what we've seen of his life and the way that he lived it, I think that that's an appropriate sentiment for what we should look at Chadwick in. He's somebody who was very much so about his business, very much so about excellence, gave a lot to those that were around him. And when he left an indelible mark on this world, and he was able to find his magnus opus, several of them, and swing away at them and make home runs. And if we can mirror that in the slightest bit in our own lives, I think that's a huge testament. And that'll help get this world back on track to where we need to be for 2021.
Well, we're about done, but and also another reason why this hit home, we're almost 40, guys. We're almost that age.
Say no more.
I don't want to turn this into like,
Easy.
sure your pet is spayed and neutered, but like check that colon.
Well, it's hard though. That's the thing. That like there's a lot of you got to hit a lot of criteria to get checked under 40, and of course the burdens of the healthcare system in America, where it's just like it's nuts. It's hard here. And here's a guy who has means. I'm assuming, I don't know his bank account, but like he's a successful actor, and this still got him. So it's definitely Cancer is a it's a scary thing.
All right.
I have to believe that early detection, though, Ryan. Again, to your point, not knowing again what it is, but that shook you. It shook me. That was one of the first things I thought about, and it's one of those things where so maybe if by doing we can't stave it off, we can't stop it, but by doing that gives us insight into what the next couple of years of our lives are going to be, so that we can be about the business of putting out our best version of ourselves going forward. A lot of lessons that do behind. So, good on him.
All right. Well, guys, this is about to close out. But so thank you guys for joining Generational Talk. And RJ, we'll get you back on. Adam, we'll get you back on. We got that toxic fandom episode. Yeah. So thanks as always, Tommy and David.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care, guys.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.